Hey guys, I know it's been a while, but SMD here. And I was going to watch some of the major replays, so I figured I can just record them, I guess, and upload them in case anyone else is interested in seeing some of the games or hearing my perspective on them. So I'm just going to be going over a few carry replays probably and uploading them. Figured I would start with this one. Alchemist was played at the time of recording. This was 4 hours ago. This is the lower bracket semifinals, I believe. This is game 1, Team Liquid versus Evil Geniuses, and they first picked Alch. I will look at the drafts a little bit. So their response is Underlord Rubik. This does end up being an Underlord mid, so I'm not sure if Liquid was aware of that going into this or not. I haven't been following it too closely. I don't know where exactly Underlord's being played. I'm looking at some of the drafts right now. It looks like the bans are pretty standard. Medusa is really popular. Monkey King is like a EG specialty, I believe. Maybe they flexed it on the 4. I know they used to. I'm not sure if they're currently doing that. And, yeah, Underlord's really strong. You can use your ult to get around the map. You can, like, contest the enemies, tormentors and stuff. For those of you who aren't aware, there was recently a very, very big patch. I'm sure if you look on YouTube, you can find, like, a purge analysis or something of that if you're not up to date. But it is one of the biggest patches I have ever seen in the game. So, Rubik Underlord, pretty strong lane. I mean, it doesn't end up being offlane, but traditionally that is a somewhat common lane when these heroes were meta at similar times in the past, because you just have a ton of damage reduction between your E and on Underlord and your W on Rubik, making it really hard for the enemies to trade and last hit. Not sure about the Pugna pick, to be honest. It looks like EG picked it both games in the series. I think it's a 5 here. They just must think it's strong. I'm not too sure why. Like I said, really big patch. Everyone in my pubs, every game is different. And honestly, I've been losing a lot of my pubs. That's why I figured I would watch some replays to potentially figure out what I'm doing wrong. But yeah, everyone has different ideas right now on what's going on in my pubs, at least. I'm sure there's some meta heroes like the Bounty Hunters and the Medusas and the Alchemists and the Underlords, but I think a lot of the teams at the major too just sort of have their own unique heroes they're implementing as well. I know 9 Pandas is doing really well. They're picking lots of like Sky. They picked their Tinker and owned really hard with it. But yeah, they end up picking Ursa, so that's a pretty common Alch counter. Their bans they did for their Alch were Seeker, TB, Slark, which are pretty standard Alch Protect bans from what I've seen at this tournament. TB can buy a Scotty and can also reflect your Radiance back onto yourself, and has very high armor, so he doesn't care about your Q and your W too much, or your right clicks. And Seeker's always been considered a good Alch counter. It's kind of odd in a way, because with your ult regen and the fact that you just want to stand still and attack people, normally heroes like that are good against Seeker. But the Shard is certainly nice against Seeker, but I'm not too sure what else the other main reasons are. I think in the past when it was considered a counter, it was because the lane was really hard for Alchemist, because Seeker could be played in the offlane back then. But in this patch right now, I'm not too sure why Seeker is considered a heavy Alch counter, other than the fact that the Shard is pretty good against Alch. But the ult, you know, to me doesn't make much sense the way it plays out. And then Slark ban. Slark's always once again been a really strong hero against Alch whenever Alch's been meta, because he can just stand there and attack you. Like I said, Alch sort of wants to stand there and attack you, and Slark can just do it in ult. And he's stealing all your stats while he's doing it. And he can dispel your stun, and he can, you know, use his ult and his shard to make it so you can't attack him. So those are pretty standard bans. And Ursa, once again, though, is another hero that's pretty common against Alch. Because similarly, like I said, to the Terrorblade and the Slark, and the Secret with the Shard, you can just stand there and man up and through the Alch. So your damage, you know, just stacks up the more you hit him. So if he tries to attack you back, it normally won't be a favorable trade. But there's too many heroes to ban, and Alchemist is just a really strong hero. So they do just first phase it. And this is what they end up getting.
Honestly, I'm really impressed.
So we started with the Blood Grenade. I've only watched 2 replays so far from this major. I watched a little bit of the games live, but, you know, you can't always keep up with what everyone's doing while you're watching live. But Blood Grenade and the 2 replays I've watched from this major so far has been purchased by the carry. The other game I watched was Tracho playing Medusa, and he started with 2 Blood Grenades. So that's interesting to note. Really cool play he's doing right there. He's backpacking a branch, so if his smoke breaks and they see him, they'll think he warded. That's pretty cool. Because you'll see that his branch is on cooldown if you click on him. But yeah, I'm mainly just watching these replays for myself to learn, so I might be quiet at times, but I'll point out anything that I'm like noticing. If things just seem pretty standard, I might be somewhat more quiet than I usually am. Second wave gets pulled, he's just CSing, he hasn't used any abilities yet or anything. He got solo experience on the first like wave, and looks like he's getting solo experience on this one too, so he's level 2 already. Rushed to 1, lost his chicken. Let me see actually, so he really just bought a wand recipe with his bounty rune gold, and that's somewhat interesting I feel. He doesn't have any stick charges yet, so all he's really buying a wand for. Oh, he bought an extra branch with it too, it looks like. So I guess he is getting more stats out of it. And he gets 1 stat from the recipe, and he combines his 2 branches. Looks like they were able to connect the enemy's pull to the large camp. He is buying more tangos. And a Bassi. Somewhat interesting. I know people are buying Bassi on Medusa because your mana is more important now with the changes to his ability. But Bassi on Alk, somewhat interesting. Traditionally, Alk has like lacked mana regen, especially after they changed the ult. The ult used to give you mana regen when you popped it, and it doesn't do that anymore. So people were buying Soul Ring for a while, but Soul Ring has been nerfed a few patches ago. So it's just interesting to see that he's going for the Bassi here. They get first blood, and he actually does live with the wand usage. 8 charges only, but enough to survive. Going for treads now. I think I did see some players buying phase boots on Alka this tournament. I'm not sure if it's always one or the other, or like if it's like a player preference thing, or if some players mix. I feel like it's probably like a player preference thing. So I feel like miCKe is probably just buying treads in every game if he's buying treads in this one, but some players prefer the phase. Not sure if like bracers or anything are that common right now. I think some people I did see buying Soul Ring. Like people just have their own opinions on this hero and with it being a new patch. But even when patches are more figured out, you'll still notice that players have preferences on things they do. So he does end up dying. The Pugna rotates. They pulled their siege wave. The enemies nuked their wave down, so they just dove with their siege pretty much. And they lift the wave, yeah. Pugna appears right behind the tower on the gate. Yeah, he tries to like turn with a stun and it doesn't work out. CS is fine though, honestly. Like, it's just sort of like 1v1 the Centaur, and it was just spamming aggro. It felt like this lane to me honestly doesn't sound like it should be that good. I feel like their lane should be like harder on the Elk somewhat. But he's pretty free. Yeah, the game on Dracho that I watched, he went to the jungle at minute 7. His farm was higher, I think, though. I think it was minute 7, and he was like level 7. Or maybe it was minute 9 or something. I don't know. It was pretty early, though. He went jungle and just gave his support the lane. So he farmed jungle camp there, but he did not give his support the lane. Yeah, he's just using acid on the double camps. Got mud golems, really lucky. Really nice setup, I guess, for Alk. With these new camps right next to his lane. Enemies are trying to block him though now. But feels pretty nice. He doesn't feel very pressured. He did die once. Channels his stun through fog. They go on this guy. Doesn't end up dying. All good though. Pulls the camp, farms the small camp, pulls the wave. Nothing too much of note. The most interesting thing, I guess, so far is just him aciding the double camp. I know on the old patches, it was really nice to go here and you could acid these two camps. There's other places you can do it, like, you can do it like here, but it's like awkward. You have to like walk back and aggro them sometimes. You can do it, you can double stack this. I tried in a pub and it worked, just with one acid, I think. You just click the acid like here, and it'll stack both of these camps. So that could be pretty useful, but yeah, he's just going into this corner and aciding every spawn of these camps after he was like, since he's been like level 5, since he's had like 3 in his queue or whatever. Yeah, just sitting bottom though and unpressured. They're pretty interesting. They came and tried to kill him, and they did kill him that once. But it's pretty free. Closing in on his Radiance. I'm in at 12. Goes to farm the camps here again. He was a little late on these. Looks like he will be able to get the stack on it, or just kill it before, yeah. So I don't think he's missed a spawn of those camps since he started farming them. And this is also enabled by the fact that his tower is alive. If his tower died, it'd be quite a bit more awkward for him. Actually, his tower is dead at this point, actually. When did it just die? Yeah, okay, it just died there. Yeah, the Pugna came back and blasted it some more. He was blasting it earlier, so it wasn't full, and he just stood here and fog and finished blasting it. But yeah, I mean, he had these camps up until his Radiance, so that's really nice, to be honest. I mean, he had his tower up until his Radiance was purchased, so he could farm those camps. He stacks that right before the spawn. Looking good. And now he's going to go deeper into the jungle. Now that his tower's gone, I think he feels less safe to play as he's been playing, because it'll be harder for his team to react. There's like the outpost with TP too, but it takes longer. And he goes here and stacks this too, playing well around stacks, just playing really efficient with his farm. I'll watch this a little bit live. That was it. You know, I'll just show it since we're here. It's irrelevant to what I'm looking at, but a really cool rune steal from Nisha here in a second. He has a remnant placed on mid, and then he throws another one there. He roots him so he can't grab it, throws another one, grabs it, and leaves without, like, he was in the remnant the entire time. So he didn't get hit by the root. This guy precasted his root, but it didn't hit. So that was pretty cool, and yeah, miCKe tipped him for it. Yeah, he buys the Ogre Club, Strength Hero, Agi Heroes. It's nice oftentimes to buy the Mythal Hammer, since it gives you damage, but you get HP and damage with the Ogre Club, and it's cheaper, so buying that on a Strength Hero makes sense. And yeah, he's got another 3-stack here on the Large, and a 2-stack on the Ancient. And he stacks it again, like he's stacked every time he's been near a camp. And farming really efficiently. Wow, actually, is that his BKB just finished off that stack? That's pretty crazy. So he's got minute 15 BKB. He's just been farming. Highest net worth by far. No one really pressured him. He just sort of sat bottom and farmed. And it's not even like his team's like owning really hard. His Ember's had a rough time. And Doom's slightly ahead of Ursa, but he's a Doom, so... And he has a Midas, so his net worth actually isn't that impressive on Doom. So the game's like pretty even, and I guess they just feel comfortable scaling with their Ursa, so they haven't really pressured the Alk, but... You know, unpressured Alk gets, you know, gold quicker than any other hero. So... He has BKB and he looks to fight. Comes mid, gets a kill on the enemy's mid laner. Pressures tower. Ult's wearing out. I remember, yeah, I watched this live a bit. He like backs off before the tower dies, and I think gets denied for it. Still has BKB. I'm not sure why he backed so soon, but then he comes back anyways. A little weird, but like he has a 1 in BKB. I know his ult's wearing off, but I feel like he could have gotten the tower last hit. There. And now he's just sitting mid. I guess they think he's safest to hold the tower with BKB at this point. And his team is stacking. This is the same thing that happened in the other replay I saw. His team is playing really well around stacks too with the Medusa game I watched. People are saying it's an active carry patch, which might be true because kills give more now than like jungle creeps. I think jungle creeps were like nerfed. Maybe lane creeps are the same or slightly nerfed, but kills were buffed, so it's nice to go through the portals and find kills on heroes like miCKe and things like that. But when you are an Alchemist or a Medusa, it does still make sense to farm, but he's like fighting around his timings. He went for the Hyperstone instead of the plate mail. I certainly do this from time to time, but generally I'm of the opinion that the plate mail is probably better when you're buying AC, because usually when you're buying AC you're strength hero, and it literally more than doubles his current armor. He only has 6 armor right now, so it's a really big increase to it. I mean, granted, what's his attack speed? Is there even a way to tell? Oh, yeah, but, you know, it's a lot of attack speed, but it's not doubling his attack speed or anything, I guess. But he does have a BAT with his ult. I mean, attack speed's certainly nice, and now with his new spell too, attack speed gets your stacks up higher, which slows more, and reduces status resistance, apparently. I honestly didn't know that. I mean, I read the patch, but I forgot, I guess, with all the changes. Status resistance reduction per stack as well. So, I mean, attack speed's nice. I mean, he has an Oracle behind too, so maybe he just feels like he doesn't need armor or something. Like, I guess if he's in a position where the armor is relevant, it's only going to be versus the Ursa, and Ursa's going to choose for the armor anyways, pretty much. So I guess for the Hyperstone though, itemization seems pretty standard to me. The only really deviations I've seen from other players, I guess, at this point, are like Soul Ring instead of Bassi potentially, and Phase Bits instead of Treads, but Radiance BKB AC is pretty standard. There's been times in the past, I think because I actually did it in this tournament in the playoffs as well, where people just go for these like tankier builds, where they just stack HP, and they don't really go for an AC like Heart and SNY, and I think that's what yeah, he did in a game, because. But I'd say traditionally the standard is just Radiance BKB AC and like Blink Dagger, then like Abyssal or something like that. So pretty standard so far. Enemies try to Roche, he TP'd to his outpost. And his net worth's high. They pressured a little bit, they never like got the tier 2 top though. It feels like they're not too scared about their scaling into the Ursa or anything either. It feels to me like the way this game is going down is both teams just thought they like scaled better, because it really feels like, and like I said, it's a new patch still, like I'm not even that confident on what's going on, that's why I'm watching these replays. But like, so I mean, from like an old patch perspective, what I think is happening is both teams are comfortable with their scaling, so they're just sort of chilling. But it could be, the case could be something like pressuring is just too hard with how the map's setup is. I certainly have had pubs where it feels really hard to pressure heroes when they're off in these corners of the map. And the Alch, you know, has kind of been in the corners of the map, it feels like. He got like a 15-minute BKB in the corners and then came to a few fights. Honestly, like, was that his first BKB usage? It was. So he didn't use his BKB for like 7 minutes or something after buying. And at this point, they're just running at the enemies, though they feel pressured to fight. They lose everyone except for Ursa. I think this fight was just like a naturally occurring fight because of the Roshan. Something else small to note is that he bought all the other parts of his AC. It's just, he's Alchemist, he farms so fast, so he just wants his courier to be at the secret shop when he has gold for it, so the entire AC can just be on his inventory quicker. He doesn't want to bother with swapping in a plate mail for like a Bassi or anything. He doesn't probably think it's that relevant. He's not really been taking any physical damage. He's just been jungling, so he doesn't really need it on him at that point. I mean, if you're if you're just farming, like the Hyperstone's like always going to be better. Like heroes don't really have, like no real heroes have like issues sustaining jungle on like carry for the most part. You'll have like lifesteal or neutral items that'll help you or whatever, or like your ultimate on Alch, for example. And so if you're just jungling, the Hyperstone's certainly better. But he was like walking around with his BKB looking to fight, it looked like. That's why I thought the Hyperstone was a little bit questionable. But yeah, after that, he was just in the jungle, like finishing off his AC. So he just wants to in his inventory. But yeah, he got his AC here and came to this fight. Yeah, they got the 2 kills, they chase. They get the 3rd kill, they get the tower. And then they take another fight here. The enemies came back into the Ember, I guess. And they get another bunch of kills. Was it 4 more or 3 more? 1 more, 2 more, 3 more. The Centaur's back in, yeah, so it was 4 more and an Aegis. It seems so weird by the Dire, to be honest. They're just, I don't know. Tried to go in the Ember and the enemies were all around. That's what this patch feels like, just 5 heroes appear wherever you go. They went on Ember, everyone just came. They got the tier 2. They actually didn't get the tier 2. That's pretty interesting. The other game that I watched too with Dracho, there was a lot of like tier 2 poking, but no real committal on it. Maybe it's just to force fights. They poke to force fights. So like they win. I mean, they got the Tormentor. I guess you're gonna take damage when you're attacking the Tormentor. So they go for Tormentor, and they're all a little low because of it now. Yeah, he doesn't even hit the tower anymore after that. I mean, they've still got their top tower and their mid tower. They don't really need tier 2s. They have 3 tier 1s versus 1 tier 1. Their map certainly feels a lot better. So actually, he didn't go for the Blink Dagger though, which I thought was standard. He went for the Basher first, but he does have a Blink queued up after Abyssal. And he's just farming. They're walking together. His net worth's insane. He's an Alchemist. CS-wise, pretty similar to Ursa, but obviously an Alchemist takes more gold from his passive. So they do come and look for another fight. A little awkward. The Doom was kind of early. The Doom now has no mana or any spells. Ursa survived the Doom. BKBs and tries to fight. He's a little scared. He gets his Blink Dagger. Yeah, with the Oracle, he's able to blink away. Nice fight from the enemies. It just started pretty awkwardly for the Radiant though, I think. That was his team scan, I guess, looking for smokes there. Back to someone farming. This is where the game always starts to feel a bit awkward for me on Alk. He's gonna have mana issues, but he actually just got Arcanes from his team. They take their own Tormentor now. He has like no Bassi, like you have no slot for Bassi or Soaring at some point. I think people somewhat like to buy like the Bloodthorn around these times, but it can be awkward with your other items. So he's going for the Agi Blink actually. I feel like I've seen both. I feel like I would probably have preferred the Strength Blink if I was playing, but maybe I'll reconsider after looking at this. Stuns the Pugna, good kill, can't save his team now. So I did get the tier 2 top before coming here. Looks like they're mainly just looking for fights. They're not really running at the tower, I guess. They're ahead, so it's sort of like the old OG thing, you know? Give them nothing. They're just gonna... They don't want to like trade towers, I guess, for like towers, right? They just want kills. When everyone dies enough times, the towers will just like naturally die. He has Abyssal now. Goes for the supports first, gets saved by his Oracle, but you saw the potential like the Ursa countering the Alk there. It's just, he was too unpressured now. It felt like his tower stayed way too long and he farmed it pretty efficiently and had some stacks. But yeah, he goes for the supports so they can't like save the Ursa or, you know, disarm him or anything like that. And then he gets saved and they're able to kite the Ursa until the Ursa while his team's dead. And yeah, now they're able to like hit buildings once the enemies are dead. It's still not even committing for racks with 30 seconds extra on Ursa. They're playing really slow and disciplined. They're really not worried about taking it late here. So he disassembled the Radiance for Nullifier and then went for Butterfly. That's interesting. Efficient usage of gold. Obviously, he's going to be farming slower now. You used to have a Cleave Taunt, I thought, but looks like they removed that one. The talents? Yeah, I feel like everyone's taking the Concoction Radius from what I've seen. 15, I've seen both, I think. 20, I've always seen this one, and 25, I've seen both as well. Yeah, but he's Nullifier. He's just Oracle ulted again. He's just on it at this point. He only really died to that first rotation from the Pugna. And I think he stunned himself there too, so it wasn't even like they really killed him. He kind of messed up a bit maybe. I mean, it looked like his top lane was fine though. The tower like died without him going on the top lane. And then he like came mid and pressured the mid tower with his BKB. So he wasn't like super AFK, but you know, he was certainly enabled. He had stacks too. He had a 15-minute BKB in a free lane. which is, you know, pretty crazy this deep into a tournament with him being a very first pick overall Alchemist as well. Got Butterfly now. Sold his boots for it. Not much room to grow at this point. But the nice thing with Alch is obviously you can always pull your team's Ags, which gives you, what is it, like damage and spell amp or something? Yeah, spell amp and damage. You can also pull the moon shards nowadays. You can buy yourself a moon shard. Other than that though, I'm not sure what other real items he would go for. I don't know if he does end up getting any more. I guess I never really touched on what neutral items he took. Is there a way to check? I'm kind of curious. Because that new change is how you get your own neutral items or whatever. And let's see, there's no way to check in the replay on what he was taking. I can probably look on the Dota buff and see. I think he took the... Did he have the occult bracelet, then the whip? He had the Tumbler's toy and then the bullwhip. That's pretty interesting. Tumbler's toy seems odd to me. Bullwhip's just for mana, so I guess he can get rid of his Bassi and stuff like that. And then Titan Sliver's pretty good. I think the occult bracelet's like the best tier 1 you can get in like almost any carry in this patch. I think they buff like the stats, and it gives you magic resistance now, just 10% magic resistance for free. And you get the mana whenever you're attacked. I think that's a really nice one. You probably would have taken it if you had it, I would guess. But the Tumbler's toy is a bit surprising to me. I feel like that would have been one of my lower preferred ones, but maybe it's all you really had. Maybe the other options are worse. Yeah, I mean, they're just high grounding now, though. He's not even saving his ult for fights. They just feel way too strong. He can just use in hit buildings and they can back now and wait for his ult to be up to take an actual fight if they want. I kind of hope the game continues going a bit so I can see what item he actually wants to try and go for next. You got the shard from the Tormentor, I think? Is that what happened actually? Where does it tell you? I actually want to know. This guy has, this guy does not have. Yeah, so it was between him and Ember. Which honestly, like, with him being an Alch, I feel like him buying his own, like, because he can, like, I don't know, pull Ags and stuff, so. I mean, I don't know. It's just that you can't pull shards, is my point. Maybe him buying his own shard would have made a little more sense. It's also cost a ton of mana. 100 mana. It's okay. In the past, I saw people buying it. Like, I think you can use it to get out of silences. Yeah, probably as a basic dispel. Or not, well, not silencers then, because you're silenced. I don't know. Get out of slows, I guess. You cannot use it to get out of silences because you would be silenced. You can use it to get your team out of silences. I guess there's this, like you can get out of the Pugna disarm thing if it's on him. Decrep. So he does just skip the moon shard. I don't think he would use it in his inventory, he would just eat it right away. If he got it, but I think the game's just gonna end here. So I mean, nothing too crazy happened in this game. He farmed really well though on those bot 2 camps. That's something to note if you play Alch, or if I'm gonna play Alch and I'm on the Radiant. I think it works pretty much the same on the Dire with those 2 camps north side as well. I think they're a little farther away from the lane. But it's still fine, and you can double stack it, I'm fairly certain. Did he ever get the last neutral item? He did. He went for Mindbreaker. Attack speed is extra value with his BAT, and 45 magic damage on each attack with how fast he's attacking. It's pretty strong, I guess. Sounds good. I generally don't take that item too much, I feel. And it's 25. He took the movement speed. He's playing bootless at the end, so it somewhat makes sense. And he has the Oracle, which, you know, you can look at it both ways. You can say he needs less HP regen, but you could also say that any HP regen he gets is more value. But I mean, he's got a ton of HP regen already with his ult and the Oracle ult. He's probably just going to survive all the time. Yeah, nothing too crazy, but you know, he farmed a really quick BKB, then pressured mid, and then bought a Hyperstone, came top a bit, hit the tier 2 a tiny bit, but then they mainly just finished their AC and looked to like contest the Roche, but they were a little late, and then they fought bottom. And after that, the game felt pretty over. They killed them all bottom. They didn't even pressure any tier 2s. They just continued playing slow. You know, each item timing they get, they probably were looking for a fight. Pretty standard stuff, but somewhat interesting nonetheless.